the naturalness of movement means do the movements the way you're meant to do them. Then you may have an emphasis on strength, an emphasis on coordination, an emphasis on a movement that stretches you. But the point of movement is not to stretch you or to strengthen you or to make you more coordinated. That's not the point of movement originally. The point of movement is to do some practical thing in the real world, in your real life, like getting up and getting down, for instance. Because you're not doing that, oh, because I'm doing my mobility practice or I'm doing my movement practice in the sense of function. It's supposed to be something you do because you need to.
Right.
So originally,
Something has to get done. Yeah.
Right. So all sports are possible thanks to natural movement. It's not natural movement. It's not sports that make it possible to do natural movement. Oh, if you do whatever, some lifting is going to help your natural movement. Or if you do if you play basketball, it's going to help your No, it's the other way around. Like, what is basketball? It's gait, it's walking, running, jumping, landing, and throwing and catching, basically. You catch and you throw. All those movements are born from nature, born from evolution. So you look at any sport, and all these sports are basically take one or two or three of those natural movements, turn them into a regulated practice, a regulated behavior in a controlled environment called a field. Like you play tennis, what is it? You run. And with the racket, what do? You throw and you catch at the same time. That's what it is, right? So, but originally we're supposed to do all these different movements. Okay. So what I wanted to see here, because we otherwise I'm just gonna talk about
Ramble.
That. We want some practice to see how you feel already. Like do what's called a deep knee bend. So deep knee bend is typically what people do when they have a hard time squatting. Do a deep squatting, and see from the deep knee bend you can just get into a squat, and maybe you're fighting uphill here. Mm-hmm. So maybe if you're more like at the top, it will be a little easier for you.
Yeah, like on a slope.
Yeah, you see.
Yeah.
You don't want your heels to be lower than the ball of your feet. It's still going to be.
Yeah, I'm on a little bit of a slant. That's okay.
You can turn around, like face the other way.
Try to go this way.
What's your name again, brother?
Encima.
Encima.
Yes, sir.
That's as low as I can go. My heels are just ankles.
Like, can you transition to squat?
No, to go any lower, no. I mean, that's just...
Okay. And if you were more like on a flat area, that would make it even worse.
Right, correct.
All right, okay. So you can't deep squat, basically. You cannot do a deep squat on your heels like
correct.
that.
Yep.
And from that, would it be difficult for you, like, say, to just open?
Yeah, I can open up a little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or close.
Yep. Closing is harder, but I can do some of that. Yeah, there's some wiggle room with the hips.
Right, okay. So the idea here is that you could say I have an ankle mobility issue, hip mobility issue and stuff. Most importantly, you have an issue with not doing that movement frequently enough. And because you haven't done that movement,
the deficiency of that.
And the moment you start to be limited, even unconsciously, but you notice that you start to feel limited, you did it even less.
Right.
Because I know, okay.
Yeah, you avoid it because you feel like you can't do it. Yeah.
So after years of that, so the point is, can a therapy or can a stretching exercise give you that ability back? Maybe, but should moving naturally give you that ability back? Probably, because it's an avoidance of the nervous system. The nervous system says, no, it's not safe. Why? Well, because we're not doing it ever. So, all right. Well, we should be able to do all these things, and then you have plenty of different movements. And, different movements, because you'd be on the ground. So, whatever, you're gonna change your position. You're gonna go like this. You're gonna go into half kneeling position, tall half kneeling positions, and you're gonna have like different angles for everything. You know what I mean? And all that is what's gonna happen if you live in nature. You're gonna work on stuff on the ground. You're gonna maybe hunt. You're gonna do all kind of things like that. Or you won't have a chair, so you're just going to just be like, okay, I'm sitting now, and then from that sitting position, you're just standing, and you go, and you're gonna do that repeatedly all day. So you're gonna maintain that function. But in our modern environments, the way we sit is always elevated.
Right.
Means
Yeah.
the legs are lower and the feet are lower than the rear. And then we stay in those positions a long time, hours at a time. So all those ranges of motions, all those things like that, they're gone. Kids do that in their living rooms, but adults don't. So after decades of that, they feel stiff. Yeah.
Right.
Hello.
Because they haven't practiced it.
So then they think, okay, I'm old. It's not about age. If you look in Asia, they still do a lot of ground movements like that. Okay. So some of the stuff we can do is, for instance, we can start from sit positions, and we can start doing with one hand or two hands, but with just one hand support, and we do this transition with some support. For instance, just that one. So all I do, okay, so that can be pretty much anything, and here's why. Given that those movements are out of your lifestyle at the moment, they can come back. You can bring them back. But let's say for now they're completely out of your day-to-day life. Basically, in the morning you wake up, maybe you sit for breakfast, for coffee, then you stand. You walk a few steps. It's all on flat surfaces. It's linear, it's predictable. There's no variety to that. You go to the gym, you do exercises that strengthen you. This is awesome. But the movements that really are going to employ your full range of motion still aren't there. Okay. So because of that, anything you're gonna do on the ground is gonna help. We don't have to be specific. I don't need to go into, oh, your ankle is like this, your knees like that, because everything needs to be initialized, if I may say. Okay. So for instance, that all these things, just sitting like that, shifting your weight, extending your leg, bending your leg, going like this, any of that already is good, just sitting. Okay. Then you would have transitions from sits to kneeling, like that, for instance. But those can be maybe potentially challenging. And because you feel restricted, instantly it affects your breathing. That also. So one of the things that could help is actually to address breathing first and then movement. But we can do both at the same time. So what you want to do is right now is pay less attention to your movement, pay all your attention to your breathing. There are 3 pillars to that. Breathe through the nose at all times, breathe diaphragmatically, I'm sure you know how to do that, and then breathe continuously and slowly. So you start with that, and whatever movement you do, whenever you want to reach or anything, you don't hold, you keep breathing. And that's your number one say task or non-negotiable, continuity of breath. Because the moment you hold your breath, you create tension. Create tension means it reveals existing tensions, it maintains the tensions, it perpetuates the tension. It robs energy from you. Okay. And then you use some support at first because just that alone will enable you to feel safer. It's easier basically. But if it's easier, it means that, for instance, I can be in that position, maybe you're gonna feel a stretch somewhere, a stretching effect. And that's what you want to go and feel. See here what I'm doing? I'm not telling you do exactly that pattern. I don't care. Go find the places where you're like, I don't like that. Change your mindset. Breathe. As you control your breath, you start feeling that you control the situation and the movement and what it does to you. You become intentional about it as opposed to, I'm feeling stiff, I'm feeling old, this sucks. No, re-empower yourself. So now you can change and just go wherever and see, like here already, like the ankle, the quads, the IT bands, everything. The shoulder, look at that. The shoulder, the spine, the thoracic spine, everything can start to be reactivated in ways that feel good, because you're gonna feel a mild stretching effect, but because you have some support with your hands, you're not overwhelmed by it, and you just give yourself the right amount of challenge, and you go and you find where it is that you feel the tension, and when you do, you spend a little time on it. So that can be anything, and then you can add reaches to that, and you can reach with your legs and you can reach with your hands and your arms. So that means, for instance, this one here, and I want to reach with my foot as if I wanted to push something. What is this going to make me do? Use my hips. That's gonna create a stretch here. Boom. I could go high as well, and I can go sideways. See how it opens up? You feel it? How it opens up everything. And breathe. You do slow transitions like that.
It feels so much different with just concentrating on breathing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even feel limiting, really. You know, like it feels like I'm able to flow with it a lot easier.
Yes.
A lot less tension.
So there's that, number one. And two is no regiment. Means, could we work on a very specific pattern? Absolutely. I can give you very specific patterns if you want. But if we want your nervous system and your conscious mind to feel okay, not only to feel okay doing that, but to start enjoying doing that. Because if you can enjoy doing that, you're going to want to do more. You're like, oh, that makes me feel great. How about I spend 5 minutes a day or twice a day on that? And every day you do that and you start to feel better and better. This is better than like punishing yourself with like 20 repetitions of that particular movement pattern because you were told your IT band is stiff and you need to do this and you need to do that and whatever it is. Before we regiment, before we become specific, you want to make it
General.
an experience that you can enjoy.
What do you do for some people that are maybe like I don't have a lot of pain. I don't think you have much pain. You feel pretty good, right? What do you do for some people that are maybe like in a little bit more pain? Like how do you work with some of those people?
It's gonna be the same. It's gonna be, look, you need to do this, and you do what's not overly challenging, But when people are really in a lot of pain, that's really an indicate. Just doing some basic movements like that, that really means at the systemic level, something is really wrong. Okay, and so that can be the outcome of they lack sleep. They have chronic stress. They have chronic lack of sleep.
You know, the funny
They have
thing,
trauma.
when I don't forget what you're saying. You say they have trauma, but the funny thing is when I get less sleep, let's say I have a lot of work, I get less sleep, I wake up, there's this like back pain that happens that I usually never get, but it only happens when I'm not rested. It's like on the right side of my back. And then when I start getting rest again, right, it goes away. It's so funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyways.
The sleep is
Alarms.
huge.
No. It's a good point because everybody has their own. Even the people, and obviously you work on your body, so you know your body very well. But even those who don't have an understanding of their body that's very personal to them, and what makes them feel better.
Eric, come over and try some of this stuff.
Okay. So let's say
Yeah, give it a shot.
lesson of the day or insight of the day is don't fuss over specificity. Explore. And I'm not saying that's all there is to natural movement or MoveNat. That's not what I'm saying. We could say, for instance, we could do, okay, we're going to do whatever, 10 times this movement. We're going to do this one and this one and, you know, this one or whatever. This one, for instance, that one, look, like this one.
Sound like you operate
here,
like me. I don't give
boom.
anybody programs.
Right, like this. You need your ankles, you need your hips, you need all that to move well. But you may not be ready instantly for that. And if you try to do that, it's going to be unpleasant and you will resist it. That's the thing, is that unpleasantness, you can learn inner strength by dealing with something physically unpleasant, like do more reps, run faster, keep going, you know, just train hard. And there's value to that, no doubt. But it's mostly value for the mind more than the body. The problem with everything that has to do with low intensity movement, but that has a lot of variety in terms of range of motion, movement of pattern, you know, the way you align your joints and all of that, is that it's not the right mindset. Like no pain, no gain is not the right mindset. If you try to go hard against, say, your mobility limitations and stiffness, as in it becomes painful, you will worsen the problem. You need to
You worsen the problem, like if somebody is
yes.
got like a lower back thing and they're really trying to stretch, but the stretching's
Yes.
painful, they're going to make it worse.
You need to reconcile your conscious mind and your nervous system with basically a natural behavior, which is the ability to, for instance, go to the ground and do movement on the ground, sit and kneel and squat and get up and get down. Reconcile your nervous system with the behavior that it used to possess when you were a kid. You're playing on the ground like that all the time. No stiffness, no limitation, nothing. And that's not possible anymore. Okay. The behavior is gone from your lifestyle. You need to reintroduce the behavior with low intensity but frequency. It's better to do 10 times 1 minute of this per day than trying to do half hour nonstop of it. Because every time you do a little, it's like you reignite. It's the idea of doing strength-wise, of doing more frequent, super short workouts as opposed to one workout to failure for a whole hour. This is how I can do no warm up, and I can do like a muscle up, even like on on the thick bar like that. And why? Because I tell my body that it needs to be ready to do that anytime. I'm able to sprint right away, no warm up. I'm not going to have an injury. Why? Because I've trained my body to behave like that, and I tell my body that it's still able to. So belief is very important. Belief is very important. The mindset is very important. If you believe you're going to get injured, you might get injured just because you believe you're going to get injured. If you believe it's too late, then it's too late. If you believe you're not strong enough, then you're strong enough. If you believe you're too stiff, then it's too stiff. That's it. It's the self-fulfilling prophecy. So I like the idea of instant gratification. What does that mean? And by the way, exactly, keep going. You see, like movements like that are great, like that, whatever, and it doesn't have to be, again, something specific. It's more you, like imagine you're reaching out to something. It's more you feeling, and when at some point you get into a position like, ooh, then like, okay, what does that tell me? Then you get out of it and you come back to it slowly and you breathe through it and you go like, and you relax. And that's super important. If I was going to emphasize one principle aside from instant gratification, means you gotta experience reward, satisfaction in the moment you're doing it. It's not a punishment. Don't punish yourself. But one is, I go into whatever position that for me, in that case for you is going to be like, oh, tightness, and I don't like that. Okay, what do you do right away? You go like this with your body and with your nervous system. You go like this. So basically, you protect yourself. Okay, that's when you use the breath, and instead of going right away, trying to push hard into the full range of motion, you push just a little. You breathe through it, especially you exhale and relax. And you bring your awareness into whatever area it is. And you order, it's your intention, you order this, relax. When you feel it's relaxed, then you push a little more. Then when this has been reached, then you push a little more, etc., etc. Okay? And then you can also make it a little more dynamic. So you do like little, like micro movements, like that, kind of bouncy. I'll give you an example. If you can deep squat and you stay like that, and we talk. After 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on my joints, depending on the person, you may start to feel stiff, and then you want to stand out and stand up out of this and go like, oh, right? So what you do exactly that. You bounce.
A little bit of pulsing, kind of.
You shift weight a bit. You bounce a little more, boom, and in the end you just stand. So those are little tricks that can be used.
Just helps you like feel more comfortable in the position, just bouncing a little bit.
Yes, means
I see a lot of Olympic lifters do that.
We're using here ground movement. That, why? Because it has a stretching potential. It has basically a mobility potential. Other natural movements, like a pull-up is a natural movement. It's you pulling, but what's the point of pulling? Normally it's not to just go down. It's to pull and reach higher. Bring your arms over, maybe your leg over, and boom, again on top. And then keep going, not to do the same movement 20 times in a row. So, but can you do pull-ups? Yeah. Are there other ways to do pull-ups? Yeah, you can do pull-ups from that position. Okay. Why? Because that could be one way to climb on top of something. Now that movement requires a lot of strength, some mobility, but mostly strength. So you can use different natural movements for their specific effect. Some have an effect on your mobility, some have an effect more on your strength. And depending on the movement, that can be lower body strength, upper body strength, all of that. Some movements are more about coordination or you know, hand-eye coordination, things like that. But the idea here is for you to give you the freedom to explore where your limitations are mobility wise, to breathe through them, to reconcile with those movements so that you open up an opportunity to go beyond your limitations, because those limitations are not mostly tissue, they're mostly nervous system. So your nervous system gets nervous about them. It protects you, not because they're inherently dangerous, but because since you haven't been doing those movements in a while, the nervous system is like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? That could be, that's outside the range. And that may not be conscious to you, but your nervous system is aware of that. Does that make sense? So the more you practice those movements, the more you go into your sensations. Means you feel where it happens, you feel where there are limits, and you breathe through them, and then you can go slow and progressive, or you can also do a bit of more like dynamic, like this, for instance, right here, and then a little more and a little more. And in the end, what do I want? For instance, in this movement, I want my knee to go down, but it may not be possible right away. Also, it may not be possible to do it right away without my hands.
So somebody like me, if I'm going to, mess around with a bunch of this stuff, I know you like doing it outside, the sunlight, the grounding. I agree. I like that a lot. It'd probably be helpful for me to have like a block or a rock or something near me to reach for, to, because like my transition from some things is like, there's like a skip because I'm not mobile enough at the moment to like get my hand down. So if there was something there, I could probably, do you kind of know what I'm talking about? Almost like a yoga block.
Yeah, that could be.
Just to make it easier
Yes.
for me to get started, kind of thing.
Yes, it's the same idea with see the people who can only do the deep knee bend, but not the actual deep squat.
Right.
Okay, so right here you have a natural help from
The slope.
the slope.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you need hand support, then it goes against you because the slope means like you have to reach lower.
Yeah.
So you want to switch that.
Yeah, turn the other way.
Yes, exactly. So you can put books underneath your hip, your heels. You can, and like if you're just going to want to do a deep squat, it's not comfortable for you to do the deep squat yet. You can put a bit of a layer. That's why like weightlifting shoes have heel is to compensate.
Right.
Yeah, there are strategies like that. It's like you can also do sauna before you stretch. You can take a hot bath to smoothen your muscles. You can take some nervines. You can take like a chamomile tea or passion fruit, lavender. GABA.
Smoke some weed.
Smoke some weed. Why not? I mean. We're talking about strategies,
Yeah, right.
and to achieve goals. Yeah, plenty of things are possible. But let's say, if this morning I wanted to convey to you one most important insight, and I've said it probably 3 times already, that's explore like a kid. Feel, pay attention to how it feels, where it feels what. Breathe through it. Don't force, don't fight, don't tense, don't add tension. And you add tension when you want to punish yourself. Be like, oh, you shouldn't be stiff like that. Just keep going, like push through that. You're gonna just stretch those stupid tissues and all. No. So be good to yourself. Make yourself feel good. So seek basically instant gratification. It's like the stretch has to feel good. It doesn't matter if the range of motion is not what you want it to be right away. You cannot brutalize yourself out of years of zero behavior like that into, oh, I'm super nimble. In 1 week, I'll be super nimble. Why? Because I'm me and I'm special and I'm so good and whatever. No. Give yourself some time.
Do you know Kadour? That's his name, Kadour, right?
Kadour
Kadour
Ziani.
Ziani, dunking guy, a basketball guy.
All right.
He shares a lot of similar thoughts. Like he really liked doing a lot of stuff on the ground.
Yep. Yes, because I believe that's what most athletes, if not all athletes, and even non-athletes should do. Because look, you're an elite basketball player and be like, hey, you know what? I love to do these things, those movements and all because I feel better in my body. I perform better on the field. I have less injury. When I have injury, I recover faster. All of this. It's experiential knowledge. That's his own experience. So he's looking for an edge and his intuition takes him to, those movements on the ground. But it makes sense because the body is the same body that moves on the court or that moves on the ground is the same body.
Taking some gravity out of it a little bit too, right?
Yeah. So if you become hyper specialized through a given sport, it doesn't mean that you are not afflicted by the same limitations that non-athletes are afflicted by. Why? Because if you play basketball, in a basketball game, when do you do a full squat? When do you move on all fours? When do you hang and swing and jump and well, you actually jump and land, but it's always mostly vertical. So it's always kind of the same angle. So it's not different angles. It's not, you don't go on your knees and get up and you don't do any of those movements. How much of your physicality isn't there as a result? And because it's not there, how much of it is impacting potentially either how you play, how athletic you are on the court, or maybe an increase in your propensity to get hurt or to recover less, including from injury and things like that. Yeah, so I would say for me, if you want to be feeling better and more complete and perform better as an athlete, regardless of whatever the sport is, you want to have elements of a full scope of human natural movement. Okay. By the way, there's a study from Brazil several years ago that showed that the ability to get up and get down without using your hands, elbows, or knees was an indication of your potential lifespan. So you know what's funny is that you have the same with grip strength and you have the same with lung volume. So basically, why? If the body doesn't have the mobility to elevate itself to standing and back without all kind of assistance, what does that say about its mobility? And if it doesn't have mobility, what does that say about its overall function? It's probably the reason why you lack the mobility is because your function is deficient in some ways. Same with grip strength. You don't have strength in your hands, doesn't mean what? You're probably not like lifting anything heavy or hanging your body from a tree branch or whatever. And same with lung volume. If your lung volume is really small, what does that say? You're probably not running, not hiking, not doing any intensity. So regardless of the type, what it shows is decrease in your physiological function. How would you expect basically a biological unit that is a body to have longevity if its physiological health and function is mediocre? Why would you live a long time? The only reason why or cause you could live a long time is assistance. You're being fed, you're being given medication, and it keeps you alive. If you were to remove all that assistance from most people today, a lot of them would die quickly, and a lot of them would actually start thriving because they would have to find the ways to basically manage without all that assistance. So that's my take on it. So what are ways that you can, from a sit position, get to standing? There's that one's the cross squat. So go like this and up and back down. So that's basically the way that most people are gonna do it. But you can also do it like this, or you can literally go do a pistol. What's your name again?
Eric.
Eric, that's great. Now, of course, if you can do it here, now come down to a surface where it's flat and see, because it's gonna tell you the truth.
It's gonna be a little harder, yeah. Nice.
Alrighty.
Back a little bit.
Yeah.
Still did it.
I could do a 20. I think I could do pistol.
I think when Kelly's striking, I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, you just did it pretty easy, huh?
Easier.
I gotta cheat it, but I could do it.
Okay.
Nice.
I can't do a pistol though. Yeah, no, I cannot.
No, but you
Maybe
could.
if your knee
Can
goes
you
out.
transition into a squat, a deep squat?
Yeah, I think so.
Excellent.
I can't
That's
go to
great.
pistol.
I think I only have one.
Ah,
Nice.
that was great.
I could backward roll. Does that count?
Yeah, the pistol squat's something that's always evaded me over the years. I've just never really worked on it. Something I should start trying to work on.
Big body to be lugging around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how rolling comes into the mix. Because I feel like rolling is something that you see kids do all the time, but adults, because they don't get on the ground,
Yeah.
they also don't roll.
No.
And it's like
Like rolling down a
being able
hill.
to fall and then
Oh yeah.
tumble is like that's.
There are so many movements, but before you go from standing or even running into rolling or things like that, you already want to be comfortable doing it on the floor or ground. Okay, there are so many movements. We can literally spend the whole day just doing that. One thing I like to show is just this one. So I'm gonna roll from supine to prone, and just being able to do that. Boom, and then
Oh, cool.
to come back.
Yeah.
Just that. So without instruction, you want to maybe try that and see how you feel doing that, and if it comes naturally to you or not.
You end up in the exact same spot you started. That was pretty.
Make us so itchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. As you could see, is that I kind of
Right.
did it linearly, and typically when people have never done that, they finally manage to roll, and then they're like, "Where am I? Who am I? You know, what is this place?" Because they're disorientated, because it completely messes up with their spatial awareness or orientation. So it's good to do. If you want to try it, just see. Want to do it?
Yeah, sure.
That's what I just did.
So,
And let's
do you
see.
want
Let's see.
background?
I like to ask people to do things without instruction. Yeah, super nice.
There we go.
Yep.
But you're supposed to use your hands for that.
So you can, and you also can try not to.
I'll try not to also with
All right.
My wrist though.
So now look, and Sima, you start like that. You basically end it like this, and then
Pretty
you end
big,
it like that.
pretty big pancake to flip.
So
You know?
I'm adding one layer of awareness, which means that you could do uh, you could do direct, or you can go at a say
This is a
90-degree
This is a
angle.
way to get over allergies.
Okay, I'll think about that.
Yep. Not bad. Not bad.
That's
Nice.
so cool.
So easy.
Yeah.
Why are you not scratching? Okay, you're scratching yourself. I'm like,
No, it's because I went to Austin like 10 days ago, and I got all these gnats.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
And man, I've been itching
Okay,
since
so
then.
now
But
you
it's
just
not the
got used
grass.
to
No,
it.
the grass does nothing to me, unless it would be like some nasty grass. All right. Yeah. So those are good, and of course we can make all these movements more technical and understanding. Okay, how does this work? Okay, so you shift body weight, then you shift body weight on a given shoulder. There's a whole every movement has potentially a technique, and what's technique is breath, always breath first, breath, position, sequence and timing, and then tension and relaxation. So if you follow a sequence, the sequence obviously has a timing, but then tension and relaxation, because this is very important, is how fluid you're going to be in any movement, because you can put a lot of energy into any movement, more energy than you need. But it's not just that. It's okay, where is the tension taking place? At what time? For how long? At what intensity? And what kind of tension? Because isometrics, eccentrics, plyometrics, concentrics, all of that. You can apply different types of tension in different places for a certain amount of time. So in any movement, the more you move and the faster you move and the more adaptable your movement needs to be, the more chances that you're going to apply tension too much or not enough, or not in the right place, not enough where it needs to go and too much where it needs to not go, or for too long or for too short. Any of those changes are going to potentially lower your movement quality or disrupt it. And that's it. So the management of tension is really important, but you cannot analyze that. You gotta feel it. And so the faster you move, again, the faster you move, the more unpredictable the environment, and the more adaptable your movement, the more it becomes in itself a skill. And that's why animals in their natural environments, they tend to move, you're like, wow. But we, even in our man-made environments, most people are awkward in the way they move in their artificial man-made environment. The world as there is a man-made environment. It's predictable, it's flat, it's stable, it's not like a rock in nature. So you would think, easy, go there, step on it, climb over it, vault over it, do something like that. And you would think people are surrounded by those environments their whole life. They become experts at these environments. They can move through these environments. And yet you see people just even like going on the couch and out of the couch, like, oh, it is hard. What's going on, people? What's up with that? So imagine taking those people, putting them in nature, and telling them, don't worry, it's natural movement. It's in you. You know, it's a natural birthright. I'm just plunking you in that environment, you're gonna thrive in no time. Absolute disaster. So that's why the MoveNat method takes people basically where they are, and we mostly train them in controlled environment, not in nature, with the hope that eventually, with restored natural movement abilities, they'll be able to start going out in nature. That's the idea. But you need a lot of those movements, not just jumping or climbing or Why? Because, for instance, if you do jumping, after the jumping comes the landing. And the landing is the most important part of a jump, is how you land. So let's say you have powerful legs and you can really propel yourself airborne. Yeah, but how are you gonna land if all you do mostly is that you got that power because you do heavy squats? That's cool, but the landing is an eccentric. It's a very intense eccentric movement, not just in the quads. We're talking also about like the feet, Achilles, the tendons, everything. And you're gonna do a big jump, land on the rock, and you torn something, and you're screwed. So you don't want to be a jackass of natural movement. There are steps to that game, just like in any game. There are layers to it. There are levels to it. Yeah. I like to do something like actually jumping and landing.
Okay.
Right. We have some time.
Yeah.
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
All
fun.
right. All right. I
Actually,
don't want
ask
to
you
talk too
later.
much, but those insights I think are they matter. They matter.
You have a question? Go for
Yeah,
it.
actually,
Yeah.
I think this is going to derail from the jumping thing, but I was curious your thoughts on, you see a lot of people introducing spinal waves, right?
Yeah.
And we'll talk about this on the podcast. But you know, so for people that have been lifting a lot, some of this stuff is going to be difficult. But there's a lot of the population that's hypermobile, where they're naturally like they probably tend towards already doing yoga, or even if they don't do that stuff, they just are very mobile and they don't have joint integrity. So my curiosity, and we'll talk about this more later, is like introducing this stuff for those people. How do you then get the integration of stiffness so that they have, you know what I mean? They're on the
Yes.
other side. They're like
Yeah,
the very opposite
completely.
of him,
Yes.
right?
Those are more rare though, but
Yeah.
they exist. It's typically it's more like a female thing.
Okay.
Not always, but typically more. And it just like okay. The mindset, from my perspective, the mindset is we want an individual that is capable of the full range of human natural movement. What does that mean? They're able to run, they're able to, of course, walk, but everybody can walk. No, we're talking about then walk as in walk up a mountain, walk up rocks that are unstable, maybe even go barefoot, or at least in minimal shoes. So now it's going to be a more advanced expression of gait. Okay, so you look at the full scope. So all locomotive skills, locomotion, how do you move from A to B? Well, that can be if you climb a tree, that's moving from point A to point B. If you swim or if you dive, point A to point B. If you balance on a fallen tree, point A to point B. If you crawl through a tunnel or something like narrow, point A to point B. Maybe you're gonna do that prone, maybe you're gonna do that supine, like a shoulder crawl, etc., etc. There are plenty of techniques that we teach. If you don't know those techniques, or if you are able of them to a degree that's instinctive but not technical, then you will not move very efficiently. So anybody can run, but just some people are going to be like, hey, I can only like just jog, and then they're gonna be like really heavy and there's no technique. Okay, so okay, what's physical capability for the real world? It's a wide scope of potential movement of physical actions. It's wide, and you need to be capable. You need those two pillars: competency and capacity. Competency, it's your motor control. It's basically technique. Anybody can jump, but not everybody can jump with technique. Anybody can wrestle, but if you're a wrestler or a jiu-jitsu guy, you will dominate. Okay. Same with running. Anybody can run, but some people run like shit, and some people run like deers. Why? Technique. Okay. Then you've got the capacity. So capacity, we're talking about energy systems, metabolic conditioning, strength and conditioning, whatever you want to call that. We're talking about all the physiological adaptations. Now, physiological adaptations, they have to do with strength, power, stamina, all of that. Okay. You can have great movement competency and low capacity. You can have great capacity, low competency. But if you have both, now you're really capable. Okay. Imagine a society where everybody would think that way. Now it's a very different mindset. So if you have that mindset, you think of it as like a physical morality. It's like it's my duty basically to maintain myself with that level of physical capability. If you don't learn that from in school, which I believe all kids should learn that in school, that should be part of every kid's education. I basically designed MoveNat because that was the physical education I wish I had been taught in school, which is what? Support what's in you, regardless of gender, ethnicity, social background, regardless of all of that. If you cannot operate your own body in real practical ways in the real world, you're useless to yourself and you're useless to others. You need to run to help that lady over there. Yeah, but it's going to take you 10 minutes instead of 2. Yeah, and then you need to climb there and reach that person. Yeah, but you can't, or you're going to try and fall and hurt yourself trying. Okay. Or literally, I'm the one who need help because I'm physically helpless. Call 911. Some fit people and capable people come and help me. So what do you expect from firefighters to have that kind of capability? You don't want firefighters that couldn't run, couldn't jump and land, couldn't lift and carry, couldn't like crawl under something, maybe hold their breath, whatever it is. You like expect them to be physically highly capable like superheroes. Because why? Because they need to save lives. And how do you save lives? In shitty situation that you did not expect to happen, but that happened. Okay. So about nobody in society thinks that way or cares. People go to school. If when they come out of school they are illiterate, you'd be like, what's up with that? It's a real problem. But millions of kids every year leave school, they're physically illiterate, completely illiterate. They're helpless, they're inept, physically inept. So my mindset is that physical capability, I call that real world physical capability. Real world because it's not just in the gym, it's not just on the field, the sports field. It's not just in the control environment with a control behavior, it can be anywhere. Okay, so I need 2 things, competency and capacity. I need foundation skills. You go to jiu-jitsu, remember jiu-jitsu when you did your first class? Did they exhaust you doing push-ups and air squats and stuff right away?
No, well, the warm up, we did some rolling and stuff, and that was surprisingly tiring. It
Yeah.
shouldn't have been, but it was.
Right. But it was a warm-up,
It was a
not
warm-up.
a workout. But to you, it felt like a workout. But then, what did they do? They showed you probably a choke, like belt choke or something. I choked you, how you get very used to getting choked or submitted because it's gonna happen to you like countless times to begin with before you can do that to others. But my point is, the foundation was technique. You go to any MMA, any dojo, technique. Number 1, technique. You don't have technique, it doesn't matter the size of your muscles, it doesn't matter like if you can like a heavy squat or anything. First, technique. As you train the techniques, a lot of the conditioning that's naturally associated with techniques is going to go up without needing to do any specific conditioning. Your grip strength, your coordination, your mobility, all of that, just by rolling, it improves. Then, depending on what you need, be like, oh, I need more flexibility. Okay, I'm gonna do the stretches. Oh, I need more strength. Strength where? What's the sport? Are you kicking? Are you throwing punches? What is it? Okay, then you're gonna go for more strength. But what do you want to do with that capacity? Increase capacity. You want to support competency. to do what? Become more capable. Okay. This makes sense, right? Now apply that to the real world. Now you have MoveNat, which is what? It's like mixed martial arts, mixed movement arts for real world physical capability. If you do MMA, it's because you want to be competent fighting, standing on your feet or on the ground, things like that. If you add to that like Krav Maga, kind of like stuff, close combat stuff, then you also have all the nasty stuff that you cannot do in the cage. Okay, what's the point? Real world physical capability. You want to be able to not get fucked by some fucking jerk. You want to be able to defend yourself. All right. So you train the techniques and then you add some conditioning to that. Now you have competency, the foundation, then you have more capacity, then you have higher capability. Apply that to all the rest. It's not just about fighting. It could be, I need to run, I need to sprint. You do sprint, that's awesome. But it could be, I need to run for 3 hours straight without stopping, without drinking, maybe with minimal shoes or maybe barefoot. Are you training for that? Are you training for jumping? Oh yeah, I do CrossFit, so I jump up and down. Okay, now how about that kind of jump in that kind of environment? Do you have the software for that and do you have the hardware for that? That's the question. That's my preaching. It's been like that for many years and it's still difficult to sell that because society is not yet ready for it. It's not
centered
yet.
on looks, not the way you move.
Yes. Speaking of, I like to say, you know, what's a beach-ready body? It's a body that sees somebody struggling in the water, is able to sprint very fast, swim very fast, and knows the technique, what to do, how to move a person floating in the water or dive, and do these things. Now once the person is on the beach attending, maybe there's nobody around, you can lift and carry that person on your back, attending they're not too big, or drag them or something. Now you're beach ready. That's different mindset.
You have utility.
Yes. So could you do that and on top of that become say super strong in one area, but could be I have all that foundation, but then I'm super good at rock climbing or super good at trail running or super good at jiu-jitsu or like power stuff, lifting super heavy and all. You have a forte, it's awesome, but you have a foundation. Like my forte is holding my breath. Is there any practical application to that? Well, potentially, potentially yes, but it's also something I just enjoy to do. But just because I love to hold my breath and train that, doesn't mean that all of a sudden you don't see me running and climbing or jumping and doing all these things. From time to time, I may not have to do that every day, but from time to time. So basically, I have a baseline, and being 53, I want to maintain my baseline as long as I can. So maybe not increase my ability in any of those aspects. Why? Because it would take some time. I have like businesses, I got kids, I got breath holding. That's mostly what I want to do. But at least to not decline, or as long as possible, you know, at some point you hit, you know, like I don't know, 60, 70, 80, there's gonna be a decline no matter what. People say no, age is just a number. It's bullshit. No, age is not just a number. There are biological realities, but this being said, you have plenty of examples of old people who are so good, like they can jump and bounce and like run, and it's very inspiring. So mindset is very important.